In the old kingdom of Iroquois, where red earth shimmered under the sun and drumbeats carried gossip faster than footsteps, there lay a forest no one dared to name aloud. Villagers simply called it the place where the forest breathes. It was said that if you stood too close at dusk, you would hear something inhale, a deep, steady breath, as though the forest were alive and waiting. To children, it was a place of nightmares. To elders, it was a wound in memory. To hunters, it was the one direction their feet must never turn. But to Ogom, the headstrong 23-year-old son of the chief hunter, the forbidden forest was a question that clawed at his curiosity. Ogom had always walked in the shadow of his late father, Gabaran, a man the village still spoke of in awe, fearless, wise, calm as moonlight. But Ogom carried none of his father's patience. He was impulsive, loyal to his emotions, and cursed with a spirit that refused to bow. And that, unfortunately, was exactly what the Adenu Forest fed on. The trouble began on a night so hot the wind tasted of dust. The village square was alive with celebration, the festival of first harvest. Flames danced in clay pots, masquerades leapt and spun, and elders sang songs older than memory. Then the drums stopped. Not gradually, not with warning, all at once. A silence heavy as stone fell over the crowd. Dancers froze mid-step. Masquerades staggered, suddenly unsure of themselves without rhythm. The lead drummer tried again. His hand struck the leather skin. No sound came out. Children screamed. Elders whispered in terror. Only one place in the entire kingdom was powerful enough to silence drums: Adenu Forest. And only one person in that moment was foolish enough to step forward and say, "I will go there." Ogom. "Ogom, sit down," his mother hissed, gripping his arm. "That forest swallowed your father whole. Do you want to follow him into the earth?" The crowd murmured. Everyone knew the story. Gabaran, the greatest hunter Iroquois had ever known, disappeared one night after answering a strange call from the forest. Only his spear was found at the boundary, split in two as though something enormous had bitten it. Ogom pulled free. "I am not father, and I am not a child." The eldest elder shook his head. "You do not understand what sleeps there." Ogom stared at him. "Then tell me." Ode Nandi's eyes clouded. "The forest houses the forgotten, the spirits no ancestor claims. They wander, hungry for names, hungry for breath. If they catch yours..." He let the sentence dissolve into the night. But Ogom had already stopped listening. Somewhere in the distance, from the direction of the forest, a faint drumbeat echoed. One single beat, then silence, then another, like a heartbeat calling only him. Ogom's jaw tightened. "I will return with our drums." Before anyone could stop him, he strapped his father's old hunting knife to his waist and grabbed a lantern and stepped into the dark. The boundary of Adenu Forest was marked by an unnatural cold. As Ogom crossed it, the heat of the night evaporated. The trees stood impossibly tall, their trunks thick as ancient spirits carved from stone. The leaves did not rustle. The air did not move. It was as if the forest were holding its breath, until... A low inhale. Leaves trembled, not from wind, but from something deeper. The forest was truly breathing. Ogom swallowed hard, but pushed forward. His lantern flickered. Shadows shifted in ways shadows should not move. and the deeper he went, the louder the breathing became, until it sounded almost like whispering, multiplying, overlapping, as though many unseen mouths exhaled at once. Then he heard it again. The drum, not human, not solid, a drumbeat that sounded like it was made from the bones of memory. Ogum followed it. Every step felt like walking into a story he had no control over.
The drumbeat led him to a clearing where moonlight pooled unnaturally bright. There, kneeling beside an old shrine carved from ebony wood, was a woman. Her hair was long and matted with leaves. Her skin glowed faintly, as if lit from within. Her eyes were pale white, too white. She did not look up when she spoke.
"You walk loudly, Ogum."
His skin prickled. "Who are you?"
At last she turned. Her face was young, beautiful, but her eyes, those ghostly eyes, held an age that contradicted everything else. "I am Eria," she said, "guardian of the forests forgotten." Ogum stepped back instinctively. Eria smiled softly. "Do not fear me. I am not your enemy." "What happened to our drums?" he demanded. Her smile vanished. "The drums are not the problem," she whispered. "The forest breathes because something old has awakened, something that should never have been stirred." "Awakened by what?" Ogum asked. She stood slowly, her feet hovering slightly above the ground. "By you." Ogum's breath caught. "I? I did nothing." Eria's gaze softened with pity. "You carry a name that binds you to this place. You carry a bloodline that the forest remembers." The forest groaned around them, wood cracking, roots shifting, the earth sighing under unseen weight. Eria stepped closer. "Ogum, son of Guaran, the forest has been waiting for you." Ogum shook his head violently. "No, my father died here. He was eaten by the forest's monsters. That is what the village says." Eria's voice dropped to a mournful whisper. "Your father was not eaten." "Then what happened to him?" "He made a choice." Her eyes glowed brighter. "He traded his life to seal a curse." "A curse?" Eria nodded. "The spirits here were once people, ancestors who were rejected by their families, forgotten, erased. Without remembrance, they twisted into shadows that hungered for identity." Ogum felt the forest watching him. "Your father came here to stop them from escaping. And he succeeded by giving the forest something it desperately wanted." "What?" "A name strong enough to anchor the spirits. A name the forest could breathe through." Ogum's heart slammed against his ribs. "My father gave his own name?" Eria nodded, sadness in her glowing eyes. "And now the seal is breaking."
The ground trembled. Cold fingers brushed Ogum's shoulder. He spun around. Nothing, but the air behind him was colder than any winter. A whisper slithered through the clearing. "Gbaran, Gbaran, Gbaran." Dozens of voices. Hundreds. His father's name prying out in hunger. More shadows materialized between the trees, faces half-formed, bodies drifting like smoke, eyes hollow. Eria stepped protectively in front of Ogum. "They smell your father in your blood," she said. "You inherited his name, and they crave it." Ogam staggered back. "What do they want with me?" "To breathe," Eria whispered. "To live again, even for a moment." The spirits drifted closer. "Gbarhan, give name." Ogam drew his father's knife, his hand trembling. Eria shook her head. "You cannot fight what has no flesh." "Then what do I do?" he pleaded. Her pale eyes glistened with something like sorrow. "You give the forest what your father could not."
But before she could explain, a new voice rang through the forest, deep, ancient, powerful. "Eria!" The shadows recoiled. Eria stiffened. From the trees emerged a tall figure draped in bark and vines, skin the color of wet soil, eyes burning like dying embers. He was neither man nor spirit. He was the forest itself given shape, the Adenu guardian. "You have brought him too far," the guardian growled. Eria stepped forward. "He is Gabaran's heir. The forest calls him. He must know the truth." "The truth will destroy him," the guardian thundered. Ogom raised his lantern. "Tell me everything," he demanded. "No more riddles." The guardian loomed closer, towering like an old Iroku tree. "You ask what the forest wants?" His voice rumbled like thunder. "It wants what it was denied, a name strong enough to calm the forgotten." He pointed at Ogom's chest. "A name you carry." Ogom's head spun. "My name? You want me to become no one?" "If you refuse, the spirits will devour the entire village, hungry for names to claim." Ogom felt the breath leave him. "Give up his name, his identity, his legacy, or let Arokwa perish." He clenched his fists. "There must be another way." The guardian growled. "There is none." Eria held Ogom's gaze. "There is," she whispered. The guardian turned sharply. "Do not speak it." Eria ignored him. "There is another way," she said softly, "but it requires a sacrifice greater than a name." Ogom felt his blood run cold. "What sacrifice?" Eria stepped closer, touching his cheek gently. "Your life."
Eria continued. "If you offer your breath, your life force, the forest will sleep. The spirits will return to the earth. The curse will end forever." The guardian roared. "Enough! The boy will not die for your foolish hope." Ogum stared at Eria. "Why would you tell me this?" Tears shimmered in her pale eyes. "Because your father chose the lesser sacrifice. He gave his name, but not his breath, and the forest has hungered ever since." Ogum swallowed hard. "My father could have ended the curse forever, but he didn't. Yes, he chose to live for you, to return home, but he never made it. The forest demanded balance." Ogum trembled. "So the forest killed him?" "No," Eria whispered. "It claimed him." The guardian's voice rumbled. "And it will claim you too if you make her choice." Ogum asked, "Her choice?" Eria pressed a hand to her chest. "I am the last remaining spirit with a name. My people were erased generations ago. I guard the forgotten so they do not destroy the living." Her voice cracked. "But every century, the forest demands a life." The guardian growled. "It must be one of the living, a soul with breath."
Eria turned to Ogum. I was prepared to be that sacrifice for this century, but the moment you stepped into this forest, it changed. Why? Ogum whispered. Because your blood is stronger than mine. Your lineage carries a power your father never understood. She cupped his face. If you give your life, the cycle ends, forever. Ogum closed his eyes. A life for a future, a breath for a village, identity versus existence. His heart cracked under the weight of the impossible.
The forest groaned violently. Shadows screeched. The forgotten spirits lunged, swirling like a storm of hungry mouths. Ogum raised his lantern just as the flames sputtered and died. Darkness swallowed him. The guardian roared, slamming his staff into the ground. A shockwave flung spirits back, but they reformed immediately. They cannot be held much longer, the guardian barked. Choose, boy. Iria held Ogum's hands tightly. You must decide now. Ogum's mind raced. Give his name? Give his life? Let the spirits devour the village? The forest's breathing grew louder, ragged, desperate. Iria whispered, Whatever you choose, choose with courage. And then, something inside Ogum shifted. A memory. His father's voice, a lullaby once sung under moonlight. A name is not who you are. Breath is not what you own. The heart chooses the path. Ogum exhaled. I choose neither. Iria's eyes widened. That is not possible. The guardian snarled. There is no third choice. Ogum stepped forward. There is if I make one. He lifted his father's knife. I will fight. The spirits shrieked. You cannot fight, shadows! The guardian roared. Ogum tightened his grip. I am not fighting with the knife. I am fighting with my name. He slit his palm and pressed it to the earth. Blood soaked into the soil. The forest froze. Ogum shouted into the night, Gbaran is not a name to take. It is a name to inherit, and I claim it with blood. A shock wave pulsed from the ground. The spirits screamed, not in hunger, in recognition. Ogum's blood carried his father's essence, his lineage, his identity. Iria gasped. He is binding the name to himself, turning it into a shield. The spirits swirled violently, unable to touch him. The guardian stepped back in awe. No human has ever done this. Ogum roared again. You cannot have my name, and you will have no other. The forest convulsed. The spirits shrieked as their hunger collapsed inward. One by one, they disintegrated, fading into dust, into memory, into silence. The breathing of the forest slowed, then stopped. Adenu Forest exhaled its last breath.
Ogum collapsed. Eria rushed to catch him. His blood still glowed faintly on the earth, his name burning into the soil like a seal. The guardian knelt beside him, voice softer than wind. He has done what no one in 1,000 years has done. He has freed the forgotten. But Eria looked at Ogum's face and knew the truth. Not without cost. Ogum opened his eyes weakly. Eria whispered, Your name is safe. Your village is safe. But your blood, your strength. Ogum smiled faintly. If it saves others, it is enough. His body trembled.
His breathing grew shallow. "No," Arya whispered, tears falling. "Don't leave yet." Ogum smiled at her. "You were right about courage." He closed his eyes. The forest held its breath. The guardian bowed his head. Arya pressed her forehead to Ogum's. "I name you," she whispered, "so you will never be forgotten." Golden light burst from her palms. Ogum gasped, his breath returning in a rush. The guardian shouted, "Arya, what have you done?" But she only smiled through her tears. "I gave him my name." The guardian roared, "You will fade." Arya nodded. "I know." Her body began dissolving into soft white mist. Ogum reached for her hand. "No, Arya, don't." She touched his face one last time. "Live well, Ogum Gabaran." And then she was gone. When Ogum staggered out of the forest at dawn, villagers gathered in shock. He was bruised, pale, exhausted, but alive. And in his hand he carried the drums. But the people were more stunned by something else. Behind Ogum, the forest no longer breathed. No whispers, no cold, no shadows. Just an ordinary forest again. Old Nandi fell to his knees. "The curse! It is broken!" Ogum said nothing. His heart was too heavy. But when the drums were struck again that evening, the sound returned, deep, vibrant, alive. And for the first time in generations, no spirit screamed behind the rhythm.